We're we have a great opportunity tonight to have a number of our parents, we call them our veteran parents, believe it. We're going to come, and we also have a number of students who are going to engage in a panel discussion with Mr. Chandler, some guided Q&A about their role and their experiences as parents here, particularly through freshman year. And yes, there will be conversation about Fortnite. So brace yourselves. You will learn a little bit tonight, okay, from some of our students. It'll be some good information. So what we hope that you'll walk away with, number one, is maybe perhaps you'll network with somebody new. You'll see some new sets of faces, and you'll leave with sets of perspectives that as you begin along your journey and continue along your journey as a parent here at U of D Jesuit, you'll see the things, you'll get some perspectives that worked for a set of parents here that have resulted in great experiences for their sons, but also for them as parents, and which help to manifest those 5 characteristics in their sons when they walk across the stage or will walk across the stage. So I'd like to begin tonight by starting with something that we do every day during period 7, which St. Ignatius was always was a big believer in being a contemplative in action, was really thinking about where is God working in our lives and throughout our day. And so I'd like to invite you to share with me in an examine of consciousness. We do this every day before we start 7th period. And so I just ask yourself to put yourselves in the presence of God and become aware of God's presence in this room, around us. And looking back on the events of the day in the company of the Holy Spirit, sometimes our days may seem confusing. They can be like a blur, a jumble, or a muddle. Just ask God in this moment to bring clarity and understanding. And now take a moment to just review your day with gratitude. Focus on the day's gifts. Look at the work you did, the people you interacted with. As those images flash back in your mind, what did you receive from these people? What did you give them? Pay attention to the little things, the food you ate, and the sight you saw, and other seemingly small pleasures. God is in all of those details. As you look back at those images and they're manifested to you, pay attention to your emotions. Reflect on the feelings that you experienced during the day. Boredom, elation, resentment, compassion, anger, confidence, and what is God saying through these feelings? Next, choose one feature of the day and pray from it. Ask the Holy Spirit to direct you to something during the day that God thinks is particularly important. It may involve a feeling, positive or negative. Or maybe it's a significant encounter with another person, or a vivid moment of pleasure or peace. maybe it's something rather insignificant. Just look at it and pray about it. And allow that prayer to arise spontaneously from your heart. And in our last movement, we look toward tomorrow. Ask God to give you light for tomorrow's challenges. Pay attention to the feelings that surface as you survey what's coming up. Are you doubtful, cheerful, apprehensive, full of delighted anticipation? And allow these feelings of the future to turn into prayer. Seek God's guidance and ask Him for help and understanding. Perhaps pray for hope. And then we conclude our exam today with a prayer, and so I just invite you all to partake with me in praying the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. I'd also like to show you, too, one place that you can access on our website if you'd like a daily prayer. We do have an Ignatian prayer app. It's called Pray UDJ. And so if you go on our main website, Mr. Chandler, I'll ask you to scroll down. If you can. There's a big red box there in the middle that says Pray UDJ, and if you click on that, this will take you to a prayer site. And what you will find are this changes daily. There is a daily scripture reading. There's one for September 11th, Luke chapter 6, verses 12 through 19. And then the next tab over after the scripture reading will take you to an Ignatian reflection on that reading. And then after the reflection, there's also an Ignatian prayer that's offered. So something, if you wish, you can add to your daily prayer routine. This is another resource for you. Also, if you have any prayer requests that you'd like to submit on behalf of yourself or somebody, there's an area there on the right where you can submit prayer requests. So without further ado, I'm going to move to the next part of this evening's welcome. I'd like to introduce some members of our Mothers Club who would like to next welcome you.
Ms. Smith,
Mrs. Smith?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Simone Smith. And I have two sons here, both started in the academy. I have a 9th grader and a 10th grader. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Mothers Club. When I first came here a couple years ago, I jumped right in. I love volunteering. It's a passion of mine. And so I felt it necessary to jump right in, get involved. And in the process of doing so, I learned that the parents that were there, they became good friends of mine. We started to share stories about the boys and the things that they were doing and not doing. And I even found out things that they didn't know I knew. Like I go home and say, hey, I met so-and-so's mother today, and she said, so-and-so. Really, Mom? What do you, so then after that, I go home and say, do you have a project due tomorrow? How'd you know that? Well, I just talked to so-and-so's mother. Okay, so now they know I'm in with the in crowd, the parents, and you can't pull anything over on me. So, the Mothers Club does a lot. We're very active here at the school. There are so many ways that you can get involved, and I do encourage you to do so. There's so many opportunities, and when given the opportunity, I really encourage you to please take full advantage of it, because as I said before, it will give you great insight to what the boys are doing, and also you make a lot of friendships behind it. I am the director of Mother and Son activities here, so that's a board you can get involved with if you like. And the auction is a big part of the school, where they raise money for scholarships here for the boys to attend school and make it affordable. They need lots of volunteers for the auction. I highly encourage you to please get involved. Our meetings are on the calendars, and you'll see your emails come through from your class moms. Please get involved in the Mothers Club, and you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Kyle Chandler. He's our Assistant Principal for Student Affairs. I just want to say I am very blessed. Your boys are in great hands with a great team of people who really care about who they are and what they're becoming. Sometimes they're going to get jugs, and there are those days, but these are the people that work round the clock that see the men that they can become, and that put programs together and make sure that everything that happens here, you're very blessed to have a team who cares really about what happens to your sons. So between Mr. Chandler, Ms. Blake, Mr. Utter, who you're going to meet tonight, you're in good hands. And if you ever need anything, they're there for you. Without further ado, I'm going to give it to Mr. Chandler, who's going to talk next about the main event and some nuts and bolts.
All right. Good evening. How are you guys doing tonight? Look, I get it too. Long day. So I'm focused on making sure this is engaging, this is interactive. We all have different purposes. Can I talk without the mic? Right? Yeah. If I'm the dean of students, I need a mic. I'm in the wrong job, right? We all have different purposes for doing tonight. For me, it's solely about self-preservation. So you wonder, what do you mean about self-preservation? Well, orientation. I have the joy of standing in front of your young men, right, after 2.5 months of being off and sleeping until noon, and trying to get them excited for the first day of school. And so I'm going through the laundry list of things, and I have freshmen, but also have seniors. So the seniors need to be put in check and told that, listen, you're not men yet, you're not there, you still got to finish up a couple of things, but then the freshmen need to be told, we love you, we care about you, this is the place that you want to be. And so in the midst of striking that balance, I may have gotten a little over-exuberant, and I made a rule about shoes. And so I said, hey, listen, we're done with boat shoes. They look crazy. You guys are walking around here with Nike athletic socks, your pants are pulled up, and you got on boat shoes. I thought to myself, good job, Chandler. You laid the law down. I went back to my office, the emails. A parent saw me later on and said, you doing okay? And I said, well, what? They said, they're ripping you on Facebook. And I should have known automatically when they said Facebook, they weren't talking about the kids. And so it was the parents. And the parents were just, how dare Chandler make this decision? And I was like, I don't even know you. But then what it forced me to do was reconsider, number one, when we make decisions, where are these decisions coming from? Number one, but number two, how do we communicate those decisions to other people? And so when we have evenings like tonight, it's an opportunity for us, in front of freshman parents, to remember what it's like to start all over again, right? I have really little kids, and so they're in elementary school. You very quickly become aware when you have young kids that the communication style in elementary school is about the parents. They communicate to the parents all the time. Because the truth is, if you want to know what's really going on, you don't send it through a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. However, in high school, we shift that communication style to more of a student-driven communication style. So we make announcements during the day. We send them emails, we post things, we have these digital signage boards everywhere. But what happens is, especially for freshman parents, there's a huge transition in going from 8th grade of knowing everything to 9th grade relying upon this prepubescent boy to accurately deliver the details of what's going on. So that's what tonight is about. It's about, number one, self-preservation, and then number two, making sure you all understand that you shouldn't be overwhelmed freshman year, right? This is palatable. I see your sons in the hallways on a consistent basis, and I'll say some of them are on the ropes, right? Because it's a lot for a new place. But the first thing we tell them to do is breathe. So the first thing I'm telling you tonight is breathe. It'll be okay. I got one of those Facebook notices the other day that was showing me 3 years ago, and it showed me my daughter 3 years ago. And I had a little nostalgic moment. It's like, I can't remember she was that little, she was that tiny. But it goes by like this. And so I said this to you a couple of months ago when we were in the gym, and I reiterate it again now. Enjoy these moments. Those frustrating moments where your kid's driving you crazy, enjoy these moments, because soon enough, this is going to be the senior parent meeting. We'll be talking about the implications of him being 18 years old and going off to college. And so tonight, honestly, I'm trying to bring a little bit of levity to this. There's no reason for us to be at each other's throats, at least not yet. We have 3 more years to do that. But for now, we want to provide you with a little bit of clarity, some understanding. Some of our students are here, some of our parents are here as well. Our agenda is fairly straightforward. Some of you all got the yellow sheet. If you didn't, we're having more copies made. Calendar review. So I really just took some of the top things that I thought parents would want to know that are coming to a new school, and I put those on the back, and I'll run through a couple of those. We're going to go through my U of D Jesuit because it's pretty cumbersome. Not cumbersome, it's pretty magnificent. Right, I didn't go to school for marketing, but I'm smart enough to know. There are a lot of possibilities with MUDs, but we need to unpackage it so you understand it better. Fortnite 101, Mr. Trudell alluded to it earlier. You've probably been hearing this Fortnite buzz, and you just don't want to turn it into your parents, where it's like, oh, those kids are playing. You need to know some essentials. These essentials are going to help you be better parents, to hold your sons accountable, to make sure they can be successful at U of D Jesuit. And then we have a brief student-parent panel. And again, we're not trying to take up your entire night. I mean, ultimately, we're probably going to be out of here by about 8, so it gives us a good hour, and it gives us time to socialize. Because that's the other piece. It's not just about the boys establishing networks and relationships, but it's about us doing it too. Quick story, Mrs. Smith was very gracious about coming over here, but when I went into the library to interrupt the Mothers Club board meeting to ask someone to come out, the look they gave me. And so I reverted back to being in high school myself, and I said, hey, is it possible? Can somebody please? And literally one of the moms was like, get to the point, Chandler, what do you need? Welcome to our Moms Club. So if you could please, on the back of that yellow sheet with the calendar review. On the Microsoft Word. Yeah. So just a couple things I'm going to unpackage for you, okay? So I'm going to be looking up here, but it's on the back of your sheet too. Freshman days. There are other things going on here at the school. There's an important dates calendar that has a little bit of everything. I literally just pulled things that I thought people might be a little uncertain about them. So the first thing is Student Activities Fair. So this Friday, right, we always want to know about what it means to be a UD Jesuit man. And it means going beyond that 8 o'clock to 2:45 school day. So we ask all of our young men to be involved in other things. So to that end, on Friday, there's a Student Activities Fair where all 40 of our student activities have tables in the gym that are staffed by different leaders of those organizations, and your sons get to walk around and decide, what clubs do I want to sign up for? It's actually a moment where you want to push them. Sign up for everything that you think interests you, because you want to get a taste of everything, and then by sophomore year, you want to start stepping back and saying, okay, I signed up for 15, maybe only 5 of those interest me. Then by junior year, you start saying, maybe now I want to start to lead, all right? And so at that opportunity, they're going to sit down and explain what those clubs are all about. That's for all freshmen and all sophomores and transfer students as well. The Academy has one the following week. Next week is a fun week for us, right? Well, for some people, it's chaos. Homecoming week. And so to that end, for homecoming week, we have a lot of different themes that go on. I printed off the themes for you. They're on the back tables. But the way the themes go is just like when you were in high school as well. So funny enough, their homecoming theme is 80s. Right. The 1980s, I mean, to be even more clear. Some of your boys are gonna come in 1880s apparel, but the theme in general for homecoming is 1980s, and so they're encouraging the young men and their dates to dress up at homecoming in their 1980s apparel. So I'm curious to find out what that means to them. If anybody goes beyond Back to the Future. But every single day has a different theme. And so again, on those back tables, you'll see the themes. It's also posted on Cub Notes, so you'll know we encourage all the young men to have a good time with it, have a lot of fun. If you don't have any of that apparel for that particular day, then you can just come in a spirit shirt. You can wear spirit shirts every single day of the week. We have spirit games. And so most of our classes are broken up into homerooms. And so when we do spirit games, it's homeroom 1A versus homeroom 1B. So these freshmen compete against these freshmen in tug of war, in relay race, and who can eat the most White Castle and not throw up at one time type of activity. And so that's what the whole week is comprised of. And then it culminates with the homecoming dance, which is on Saturday. So homecoming is a date dance, right? I mean, well, your son can, your son can come by himself, but outside guests cannot come unless they have someone bringing them. Homecoming is open to freshmen through seniors. And I know for a lot of parents, you're going, well, what is, he's a freshman. What is he supposed to? Some just come with their buddies, and they just hang out and have a really good time. A lot of connections were made at the backfield blast a couple of weeks ago, and so they may have a date already, or they can start planning for next year. But recognize as parents too, we do make a point to when we have dances here at U of D Jesuit, we actively police the space. Our dances in here, normally it holds between 400 and 600 people. Chaperones are always crisscrossing and cutting through just to make sure we are still a Catholic Jesuit school. And so as best as we can, we want to make sure they're making good choices. So the dance starts at 8 o'clock, but the door closes at 9:30. And so it runs from 8 until 11 o'clock. Some kids get dropped off. Most freshmen do get dropped off. Some use party buses, but the vast majority get transported by mom or dad. October the 2nd, UDJ Pledge Detroit. I'm not sure if you all have heard about this before, but one thing we're really well known for is our presence within the city. And so about 10 years ago, we used to have a walkathon, like many schools do, and we would walk from here all the way down Outer Drive to Southfield, where the old Benedictine was. There's Old Redford. There used to be UD Mercy had a campus over there, and then we'd walk back. And then we kind of got to the point where we said walking in our city isn't good enough. Maybe we need to start actually doing more for our city. And so we started volunteering at historic Fort Wayne. For many people, it's the first time they even knew about historic Fort Wayne over there on Livernois in Southwest Detroit. And we went down, and one thing teenage boys are good at is just using brute strength and clearing brush. And so they cleared out all of this brush around historic Fort Wayne and did a magnificent job. So to that end, we decided to make the day of service and our fundraiser coupled together. And so now, this is our 10th year again. We're at historic Fort Wayne, we're at Chandler Park, and then this year we are working with Lifetime Remodel, Life Remodel, sorry, Lifetime. We're now working with Life Remodel over there with their Durfee project over by Central High School. And so we do ask every student to get donations though. This is the 142nd year. 142nd year that we're in existence. So we ask every student to bring in $141 as his fundraiser amount. We ask them not to go to their parents and just say, give me a check for $142. Instead, we say, go and ask other people if they're willing to donate to your cause. That money goes towards paying for student activities. So last year we raised $200,000. That pays for moderator stipends, that pays for co-curriculars. So some clubs have been able to fly to Washington, D.C. for the opening of the National African American History Museum. Our forensics team completes nationally. So all those expenses get covered by the co-curricular. So we encourage all of our families to be super involved, and their prizes along the way. You know, whatever freshman brings in the most amount of money. Their biggest thing is they like to do a 5-course lunch in the cafeteria. And so it sounds goofy, but it's kind of cool. They bring out the white linens, and the student senate officers actually serve the students during lunch period. And if you want your son to feel like he's on cloud 9, there's nothing better than a senior bringing them a filet dinner at lunch, a filet lunch in front of all the other guys, and then clearing their table and walking it away later on. But again, there are different tiers, and they'll communicate that stuff clearly to you as we get closer. October 3rd and 4th, just so you understand, our parent-teacher conferences, they're not actually here. Our parent-teacher conferences are over at UDM, which is right down the street. They have better parking than we do, and it gives us just more space to accommodate everything. The letters in the alphabet, where I say L to Z and A to K, L to Z is on the 3rd, and A to K is on the 4th, but if you find that those don't work for your schedule for some specific reason, then you can go ahead and come on the other night. We don't make that a general exception for everybody, come whenever you want to, because it wouldn't work out for the teachers and for the balancing. But know that Wednesday night is the parent-teacher conference. There's no school on Thursday, just conferences in the evening, and no school on Friday, right? The faculty have professional development on those days. New to us this year, October 8th through the 12th, we have something called Health and Wellness Week. So that corresponds with National Mental Illness Awareness Week nationally. And what we do is every day we have different themes. Our overarching theme this year is addiction. And so we're talking about social media addiction, we're talking about technology addiction, we're talking about drug addiction, trying to help guys unpackage and identify what it looks like if you suffer from some of these situations. If these are things that you're very familiar with and know a lot about, by all means, please send us an email if you'd like to volunteer, if you have some services that can be helpful to us. But we have therapy dogs one day, students are doing some presentations. We're pushing technology free amongst our students, so to that end, during free periods, we're asking them to put their devices away and instead go back to quote unquote old school, like playing cards with your friends. Or in the back, they're gonna be backyard games, socializing and having a good time. I know someone's thinking right now, shouldn't my son be studying? Okay, let's be real here. During all of his free periods, your son is not studying. And so when he's decompressing, these are healthy moments for him to actually balance and socialize with his friends. And so what we're saying is, it's a good time to also unplug and engage with the people that are around you and appreciate them too. So that's Health and Wellness Week. October 28th is our open house. I share it with you because many of you all have been to our open house. We try to be very clear. We don't try to shape the narrative of our students. We want them to walk through with parents and tell them about their experience. We'd hope that you would encourage your young man to come on that Sunday to volunteer for the open house as well and tell people about his experience thus far as well. So because we have open house on that Sunday, we don't have school on the following Monday. Another big deal for us, November the 6th, Adopt a Family Kickoff, used to be called the Focus Hope Christmas. Every year, every single homeroom that I mentioned to you, so there are 9 freshman homerooms, there's a family assigned to that homeroom. And so all of those students, well, they'll get a family description, the size of the family, the age of the family members, and then they'll do a collection, and they'll buy gifts for the family. They'll also bring in food items for that family, and then 2 students from the homeroom will go and deliver that stuff on the day of our Mass. It's a big deal here at the school, right? So we encourage everyone to be involved. We always ask the moms and dads to help out as well, so you'll be getting communication from the moms and dads clubs for that. December 18th to the 20th, that's semester exams. I put that on there to let you know, right? Because your sons are going to tell you that they're going to wait until December to study. So, right, it doesn't work. Semester exam studying really starts now. And they start reminding themselves of what's going on, making sure their notes are in order. The way it works is, there's no school on that Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are exams.
So hi, I'm Mr. Utter. I'm the Dean of Instructional Technology. It's nice to see some of you again, those of you I know. Those of you who don't know me, I apologize in advance for the entire experience. You know what I mean. I'm only going to talk about a few things related to Mudge tonight. I want to keep it short. I want to keep it simple. As Mr. Chandler said, it is a magnificent tool. And there's a lot to it, and I could spend hours talking about it, and I would lose my voice, and you would all be bored, and it wouldn't be fun. So I'm just going to go over the basics. Some of you will know some of this already. That's fine. I will not today, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Trudell, be taking questions just because of time. There are infinite questions about Mudge. However, if at any point you have questions, you're unclear on something, you just need to know how something works, you need a sanity check related to Mudge, please don't hesitate to send me an email. You can contact me, you can find me on the school site, edward.utter@ufdjesuit.org. I will be happy to respond to you always and at any time. There are no questions that are too rudimentary for me to respond to, so please don't hesitate. If you're asking it, you're probably not the only one, and that's helpful to me as well. So just a few things I want to show you. I'm going to talk briefly about grades and assignments, especially missing assignments, how to see them easily, quickly. I'm going to talk briefly about conduct and attendance, and I'm going to talk about the calendar. Quick show of hands, who here's looked at the calendar? Rad, thank you, hands down. Quick show of hands again, who here felt that the calendar was a bit overwhelming? Yeah, right? I'm going to help you sort that. So, Mr. Chandler, if you don't mind clicking on Joe in the upper left-hand corner. There he is. Thank you. So conduct, you see right here, top middle, you've probably all noticed it already, unless nothing has happened yet. But if something does, and it won't, but if something does, this is where you would go. Mr. Chandler, can you click on the one on conduct for me? Thank you so much, and scroll down. So you'll see actually the description of the infraction, as well as the faculty or staff member who submitted it here. So when your son has a jug or a warning or something else under conduct, this is where you'll go to actually get the details on it. Thank you, Mr. Chandler. If we could go back to Joe. Absences. Raise your hand if you have seen a number in absences that alarmed you briefly. Absences are per period. If your son has an orthodontist appointment and misses 4 periods, he has 4 absences. That's just the way it is in the system, right? He's been absent from 4 periods. We're not going to click on it because Joe's student has been very attentive and hasn't missed any class yet, but if there were absences there, you could click on it and see, like, Joe was unexcused absent. He didn't attend this class, or Joe was tardy. You can get all that information there. Let's go ahead and click on assignments briefly. We'll come back for grades, but I want to highlight something. Has anyone, well, actually, I'm not going to out you here, but you may have seen this red button that says missing assignments, and I want to make sure you know a couple things. One, your son sees the exact same button in the exact same place. It's there. 2, occasionally, our teachers will mark an assignment as missing. Your son will submit it. They will grade it. They will forget to take off the missing mark. It will still say missing. So to rectify that, in case you're looking at it and you're like, but I thought he turned that in, you can check and see, did he turn in the assignment? How did he do on it? Was it graded? Mr. Chandler, can you click on missing assignments? And you see the assignment up there, the name of it, the due date, and then if you were to click on that assignment, please go ahead, thank you. You'd see status, grade, and any details on that assignment. Let's go back, just hit the back button, yeah, thank you. Under assignments, I want to point out a couple things. Right now we're looking at today of this week and active assignments. You can go backward in time, you can go forward in time. Any assignment that has details, you can click on to get more information. It will be a link, you click on it, you see any details the teacher's included. That might be full instructions for the assignment. It might just be a quick little blurb that says, the worksheet I handed out today, remember it. Either way, it might include downloadable files, but you have access to that. And this is one place you can go to see it. So you can actually set a range if you want. Mr. Chandler, if you could click range briefly, and you can say, I want to see everything from one day to another day. That might make your life a little bit easier if you want to get kind of a bird's eye view. Thank you. Let's go back to progress. So that's the only thing under assignments I wanted to point out. Going back to progress, if we scroll down a bit, you'll see grades, a little further, grade detail. And if you click see grade detail, you'll see not only grades on individual assignments or comments on those assignments if they're missing. This is where you would go to see comments like forgot to turn it in, right? Or was absent, he can make it up by Friday, whatever the case may be. But also a breakdown on different assignment types. So if your son is doing okay in some classes and not as well in others, if you click see grade detail, you might be able to pick up on patterns that he hasn't noticed yet. Like maybe quizzes are really giving him a hard time, but he nails it on projects. This is something that's useful for you to know, to help him, something useful for him to know, and it's something useful for his teachers to know, though we, of course, do have access to this information. Okay, last thing. Go ahead and click close, and then calendar. Up at the top. Okay, everyone take a deep breath. There's a lot on the calendar. You'll notice there's not a lot on my calendar, or rather on Mom's student's calendar. That's because I've done this talk already once, and I was bad and forgot to reset it. So yours looks more like this, right? Yeah. You can turn off individual calendars by clicking the squares next to them, or, thank you, Mr. Chandler, You can click off calendars for specific things, specific classes, specific sports, co-curriculars. So you can turn on only the ones that are important to you. But when you leave, by default, that resets. If you click the button that says Save under My View, whatever your current setup is becomes your new default. So if you say, I only want to see school events, co-curricular events for the clubs he's in, and sports that he is in, maybe home games for basketball, I like that too, cool. You can do that. You can set that to your default by clicking Save, and then anytime you come back, that's what you're going to see. So this makes the calendar go from something that's very colorful but not especially helpful to something that you can actually utilize to keep track of what's going on in the day-to-day at the school, and specifically in your son's day-to-day at the school. So again, I know this was brief and kind of a crash course. I hope it was helpful. Was this helpful to some of you? Yes. I'm so glad. If you have questions, if there are things you aren't sure about, please, please, please email me. I'm always happy to help. I'm going to pass it off. I think next we're doing Fortnite, or does someone want to intro in the interim? No? Well, then I'll pass it off to the fine young men who are telling us about Fortnite.
I'm gonna pass the mic to two of our seniors in a moment, but just to give you added context, so we know Fortnite kind of came on the scene in a unbelievable way during the second semester last year, and I think as educators we all talked about just how it just invaded people's lives. And so when the school year started, and I don't know if I get the order correct, if it was Ms. Ong or if it was Brendan, Ms. Ong, our dean of student activities wanted to give students voice in what was going on, and so she approached these students and asked them, hey, would you be willing to educate the faculty about Fortnite? Because I think the teachers are just like you all, it's a fad, it'll come, it'll go. But then we started to see over the summer that it was, number one, record-breaking profits, or kids that were obsessed and addicted to it. And so when they walked in and did a presentation in front of faculty, and I mean some tough faculty, they answered the questions very gracefully. They were very knowledgeable. And so the other day, Mr. Trudell said, you know what, I think the parents might appreciate something of that nature too. And so for those of you all that may not know much about Fortnite, Brendan and Ebo are going to help unpackage it a little bit just to help you understand. We're not going to compete tonight. Right? There's not going to be a game amongst the parents and the students. But this is enough for you to at least go home and have a slightly better understanding. And I have a couple of questions for them when they finish up. But without further ado, Brendan Shabath and Ebo Kareem.
Yeah, so as Mr. Chandler mentioned, my name is Brendan Shabath.
Ebo Kareem.
And I would just like to add a little fun fact. The reason Miss Ong, our Dean of Students, whatever her title is, I can't remember. Anyways, the reason she approached me and Ebo about it was because she asked the other seniors, friends of ours, who's, good at Fortnite, who are the best players. And I'd just like to mention, she came to us, so you do know that you're getting the best possible information. So, yeah, this is the presentation we've put together so far. Haroon, can you click it, because this one's not working.
Hit the right arrow.
Yeah. So this is just the little stuff we're going to go over today. We're going to start off with the basics, how the game starts, what type of weapons there are, places of interest that players might play at and stuff. We're going to go over basic strategies, stuff like building, and why it's so popular, what makes the game, the big fad and trend that it is today.
So what is Fortnite? Basically, it's a player versus player battle royale game, and you drop into a certain location and you try to survive and outlast all your other opponents.
So what makes Fortnite unique is this new method called building. The battle royale style of game has been around for a while, and what that is basically it's a free-for-all of 100 players, or give or take a few, dropping in all on one same island. We call it a map, with different named locations where they can grab supplies and tools and weapons that they may need to survive and be the last one standing. So that's what battle royale is. But the different thing about Fortnite is that you can build what we call structures. And this is the Fortnite is the first ever game to have what's called building in game. So you can build, instead of when you get shot at and running for cover, you can build cover and use it to your advantage. And we'll see later why building is making it so popular, and the crazy ideas that people that are really good at the game, how they have used building and stuff like that.
So, like we said, the gameplay, you drop into the map and you take some time to find weapons and find supplies and find shield. And after that, the map gets smaller and smaller with the circle, and the circle closes in. So if you stay inside that circle, then you won't get hit by the storm, which is constantly closing in.
Yeah, so what the storm does is each player, when they drop in, they're given a certain amount of health that they have. They're given 100 health points is what it's basically called. And as the game progresses, because it's this big map and it's 100 players, in order to make the game go faster and not take 2 hours because you're going around the whole map trying to find that one last player, the circle makes it smaller and smaller. And if you were outside of the circle in what we call the storm in Fortnite, each game has a different name for it, but we call it the storm in Fortnite, you would take damage to those health points and eventually you would die and be quit from the game.
So popularity and status, this graph is a trend on the search index. So anytime Google, a Fortnite search was made on Google, it was put into this chart. So the game came out July 17th of 2017. It didn't really pick up until early 2018, during March, and you can see that in the chart.
So we're going to talk about now why that chart shot up like it did. So Fortnite is a pretty easy concept for most gamers to understand. Someone like me who's played sports games and other shooting games my whole life, it was very easy to pick up, and it is for a lot of other kids. It takes skill too, just like anything that you may do in life, whether it's playing sports or playing chess or even homework and stuff. It takes time to get better at, and there's that self-rewarding of you put in this much time and you got this achievement. So that's another thing that keeps a lot of players addicted. The one thing that makes Fortnite super special is that it's free to play. I'm sure most of you guys know you've bought kids video games for birthdays or Christmas and stuff like that. $60, $70, $80. Fortnite, this super popular game, is free for all of your kids to download on any system that they have: iPhone, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, whatever it may be. They can download it for free and get to playing with their friends that are already playing it. So that's what makes it very popular. And it's also aesthetically pleasing. Most other games have these dark camouflage bulky outfits and there's blood and stuff like that. Fortnite does not have any of that. It's more cartoony, bright colors. There's no blood or anything. So that's what keeps a lot of people attracted to it as well.
So this is live streaming, and if you ever see your son or something watching Fortnite, this is probably how he's doing it. So basically, live streaming, it's this platform where professional players or people who like to entertain, they live stream their gameplay. So your son or something could watch their gameplay live and just comment and stuff on it.
And the reason that keeps a lot of people attracted to Fortnite is because in past video games, live streaming wasn't really that popular, and so people would go on YouTube to still, watch whenever they couldn't play or something to stay connected to the game. But people would just post the good stuff on there and just the funny stuff. But live streaming gets this really interactive feeling between the viewer and the person who's the entertainer, I should say. And so it's very interactive. They can talk in the chat room and stuff, and everything's happening, second by second. So it's not really as fake as other things might be. So this, go ahead.
Thank you. This is his live streaming name is Ninja. His real name is Tyler Brevins, and he's basically the face of Fortnite and the online community. And he rose to popularity. Every time he streams, he gets at least 100,000 people watching him at the same time. A fun fact about him is that he got to play with the rapper Drake and a bunch of other famous people. One thing that I found really cool about him is that every so often they host these charity streams for St. Jude, along with some of his other friends that he met from online gaming. And in total, in the past few months or something, they raised a total of $2 million for St. Jude's. Yeah.
So just to clarify what a charity stream is, so in the actual live stream, I mentioned there was a chat that people that are viewing can go in and type and talk. But Evo mentioned there's 100,000 people watching at one time. That entertainer, Ninja, is not going to be able to read all those comments that are just it's just a constant flow of them. So what viewers can do is they can pay money, donate $2, $3. They can donate however many they want, and it will give him a notification, and they can put a comment, put a question in there, and he can read it and stuff. But for the charity stream, that's how most of these people make money. Most of the entertainers, that's how they make money. This is their actual day jobs. They go on there and they get donations and stuff. But for the charity streams, what Ninja did with some of his other people that he plays Fortnite with, every donation he got, he put towards St. Jude's. And being how popular he was able to raise, as Evo mentioned, $2 million.
So we've kind of discussed this already, but the appeal, and there's like that certain feeling when you're playing with your friends, like late night, and you're like making all these like pushes and stuff to try and beat these other players, and you get that win. And that first win, it's special. It's like euphoria basically, and yeah, it's just like, and it's like that first feeling that like brings people in, and it makes people like wanting to go more and more.
I mean, if nothing else, I think that 15 minutes was well worth your time tonight. Just to understand too, we have options as parents, right? We could just ridicule and vilify and just tell the kids this is stupid, or we could be attentive and be responsible as parents and pay attention to what our kids are doing. And so I'm hoping you guys understood that one thing that came out of their mouths was the value of boundaries, limitations, and expectations. So I mean, when parents say this is the rule and you hold them accountable to it, I mean, studies have shown, boys in particular, boys like structure. And so when they tell you, no, I can't, unless that power button in your house is different than the power button in my house, it all comes to an end. And especially within certain boundaries. I mean, you can decide to be that parent that says no, not at all, or within moderation. And so I think you're talking to two, I mean, I'd love to say that this is all of the U of D Jesuit men. Send them here and this is what you're going to get 4 years later. But the reality is we have 2, 3 young men who are very self-aware and also recognize that they've made poor choices. I appreciate the way you guys handled your questions with them, but hope that it encourage you to go home and maybe even have a conversation with your sons or daughters, just to find a little bit more. I think that skin piece is so mind-blowing to me. The amount of money that they'll spend to dress up a cartoon character online, and that this is a multi-million-dollar business. And so I think just when you see that stuff, asking the proper questions is a good thing versus putting our heads in the sand. So again, I appreciate you guys doing that presentation. To that, it's funny, when I told our next panel, our students are coming up, and I said, yeah, the guys are finishing up the Fortnite presentation. They were like, whoa, what are they telling them? It's like, it's okay, fellas. So without further ado, what we like to do is, we have 5 of our young men who are gonna come up here and speak to you about their experience. So I definitely owe these guys big time. Right, whatever cafeteria lunch they want tomorrow, they like, I'll take care of. But they definitely gave up their time tonight. I told them I wanted them to just come here. We haven't practiced this, it's unscripted, just to tell us who they are, some things that they're involved with. And I'll ask them a couple of questions after. All right, so if we can start over here, Win.
Good evening. My name is Win Vo. I'm a junior here at the high, and in my spare time, I run the Ignition Service Corps, which is an organization that is responsible for all the service projects here at U of D.
My name is Logan Lopez and I'm a senior. What I do here at the high is I'm the president of the broadcast club, drum major in the marching band. I like to participate in the fall play and the spring musical and stage crew for both of those. And that's it.
My name is Peter Locke. I'm a senior here at UD Jesuit. I've been here for 6 years. I'm a captain of the varsity football team. I'm a member of the baseball team. I'm a senior editor on the school's literary magazine. I'm a writer for the Cub News, and I'm a manager for the varsity hockey team.
I'm Eddie Black. I'm a student senate president. I'm president of the Model United Nations Club. I'm co-founder and active member of Diversity Union. I'm on the base executive board. I'm active in chess club. I participate in the musical. I'm in the band. A couple other things.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Miles Hickman. I'm on the varsity football team. I'm a wrestler. I'm a student senate co-chair, so student activities committee with Eddie. We plan different events for the school. I'm a part of BASE, which is the Black Awareness Society for Education. I'm active in LABRA and a bunch of different clubs. It's really broad, so a lot of us participate in a lot of different things that we do.
All right, so you all are juniors and seniors, and so I know we're speaking in front of the parents and not necessarily the students, but I mean, what things do you know now that you wish you would have known in your freshman summer?
I wish I knew to look for the good in people and look for the good in everything. Because when I came to the high, I was really negative about, oh, this is hard. Oh, I have no time. I have no friends. Football's hard. School's hard. People are not always nice. But I didn't really look for all the positives that he would be. I always looked at the negative. And now that I'm a junior, I really see the benefit of having those long nights and having those hard football practices. So it builds character. It teaches you how to overcome adversity and have fun while you got a lot of things flying around you. So yeah, that's one of the things I learned.
Well, one thing that I realize now as a senior, going in as a freshman, I always kind of felt like I was by myself, it was Peter Locke, against UD Jesuit. But really, it's Peter Locke and UD Jesuit, together. And there's always going to be someone in the school, in the building to help you. And I'm happy now that I'm upperclassman, that I've utilized that. And it's really made my time here a lot easier and a lot better.
Two things that I wish I knew coming into UD. One of them still haven't figured out, how to not procrastinate. That is definitely one of the most important things as a young man is learning how not to procrastinate. And it's really, Mr. Chandler mentioned structure, it's really just finding a structure and getting into a nice after-school routine. And that's the most important part, because once you get into that routine, you stick with it. So if it's a good routine, you're good. If it's a bad routine, you're gonna have to fix something. The second thing I wish I knew coming into UD is everything I learned on the retreats we took. So I can't exactly tell you what that is, but what you should take away from that is you should encourage your sons to go on the sophomore retreat, the junior retreat, Kairos, because even if you're not religious, it can be a completely secular experience and you can get amazing lessons out of it.
I think one of the things that I wish I would have done better in freshman year is at the end of the day I got to push myself a little bit harder. It's not just about academic stuff. It's also about building connections with other people, with friends. So I think the reason why we are sitting up here is because we have different connections with our friends, with Mr. Chandler and the administration and stuff. And that's why I think I've decided to join the service clubs that I'm in now, so I can get more experience out of my time here, and also help me to break out of my comfort zone and not be a shy person. I think that's important.
I needed a little more time to think of what I was going to say. I like what Logan said about procrastination, and I was going to say that, but if I'm being real with myself, I knew that I shouldn't be procrastinating when I was a freshman, and I wish that I would have listened to my parents more, because they told me that repeatedly. So I guess as a freshman, I wish I would have known that my parents were trying to oppress me or what have you. I wish I had known that they were just trying to help me out and make me a better student. I also wish I had known that I can't do everything, because I tried to get a taste of pretty much every club at UD, which I would encourage, get a taste of every club, but don't try and become the president of every club. I realized you need to pick the things that are important to you and do your best in those things, because if you try and give your all in everything you're going to spread yourself to do. So.
Well, thank you. My question for you guys, please, to help these parents understand too, if there was one rule that your parents have maintained that has made you a better person, you identify. When I say better person, I mean helped you be successful here at UABJ. What would you identify that one rule as being?
My mom always tells me to be me and take the road that has been selected for me. So my mom holds me to a standard of greatness, whether it's interacting with people or working hard and trying to learn the concepts of these tough classes that I take, or being a leader on the football field. Always take the high road, never go low. No matter how hard it is, like in football, don't take a play off. In school, don't just say, oh, I'll just just do it later or ask for an extension. Always take the high road. Always do what you've been trained to do. Always work towards excellence. And to quote, I forgot exactly what it is, but like shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. So always go above and beyond and do what you've been trained to do. Train for excellence, and it will always pan out for you. So no matter what, just always be you.
I would say the one rule, and it's hard to say there are so many rules. One would be get it done. I'll put things off a lot and say I'll get it done, it'll be fine. And my parents are normally pretty, we'll say lenient. Like they'll say, okay, well if you're going to get it done, then you better get it done. If you're promising me that you'll write that essay, then I expect for it to be done. And for the most part, I do get it done. It might mean a late night or an early morning or both. But I think the one rule that they've pressed to me is to make sure you get it done. Kind of like what Miles was saying. Don't put it off. Don't not do it. Like just make sure you get done everything that you need to.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Miles. My parents like to hold me to a high standard, but I think the one place that they always held me to a high standard in is in the classroom. Grades always become. I've been a part of so many different things, and the reason why I'm allowed to do those things is if I keep up my grades in the classroom, and I know if my grades start slipping, I might not be able to participate in Inscape or be the varsity hockey manager. And those are stuff I love doing and I'm really passionate about. So it always keeps me pushing for more and driving to better myself.
So, something my mom always tells me when I'm doing my work is just do your best. And so that works when I'm slacking or even when I'm just overthinking it and freaking out about it. Because it never feels like I'm being held to this high standard. Like, yes, I'm, at UD we're all held to very high standards, but just do your best. It always feels within grasp because I know if I try legitimately my hardest, I will do my best, and I will do that and this, and I'll achieve that. And so just having my mom always there to tell me, just do your best, to calm me down and to motivate me more, it always did exactly what it needed to do.
I always feel lucky to come home to a supportive family. One of the things that my mom always tells me is, no matter the community that you end up in, no matter the school you go to, always try to find yourself in that collective identity. I think my mom emphasizes that a lot. She thinks that's the most important thing for a human person, is for them to find out who they are. And so she puts that on me, and living with her for a few years now, I still don't know who I am really. It's tough to find out, but I'm still trying. I think that's important.
We're going to let these guys get out in a second, but I just want to know, from freshman parents to upperclassmen, any question you really want to know from them. These guys have been here as many as 6 years, not because they've repeated grades, but 7th grade through senior. Anything you'd like to ask? I mean, as you make decisions that shape your son's next 4 years.
My son, through elementary to 8th grade, he wouldn't have a curfew to go to sleep because he just adjusted real well. Well, since he's been attending here, and the homework is a little bit more aggressive, I have him laying down at 10:30. What time did y'all bedtime stop? But we still have a bedtime.
Well, believe it or not, my bedtime has gotten later because of all the homework, and it's really stressful. But you know, if it's a long night, just got to take care of your business. There will be long nights, but you know, now I get to bed as soon as possible. I don't play around nights. Like right now, I'm just thinking about. I'm paying attention. I'm thinking about homework. So just gotta get home, take care of business, and when your son has had a long day, he'll know it's time to go to bed. So that's
As far as my bedtime, I don't have a specifically set one. My parents always encourage me to get to bed sooner because they'll ask me, what time did you go to bed last night? I'm like, you don't want to know. Normally it's around 11-ish, I would say, which is probably pretty good. I know a lot of people stay up till midnight or past that. But another thing that's important is what you're doing while you're doing homework. Because if you're watching something, you know, on YouTube, also on your computer, or if you're on your phone while you're doing it, that can extend the amount of time that you're doing homework quite substantially. So that's another thing that I struggle with personally.
So again, I appreciate those guys and their willingness to give up their time. And so to that end, we have 2 of our parents here tonight. We have one other parent. They had an unfortunate situation that took them away. But if I could, Mr. Terrence Thomas has volunteered of his time tonight. They're going to introduce themselves, and then Ms. Raymond as well. You guys want to grab a seat.
It's just the 2 of us?
It's just the 2 of you all. I mean, who needs more?
Okay.
There were more people. But it's okay. So if you all could just please introduce yourselves and tell us the age of your sons that are here graduating.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kenita Kraft Raymond. I have a senior, Austin Raymond. He is 16 years old, and he will be a 6-year man this year.
Good evening. My name is Terrence Thomas, class of '86. And my oldest son graduated in 2017, 31 years after I left the high. I see one of my classmates right there. And as one of the young men that was walking off was Logan Lopez, who also graduated with Peter and I. And I showed him a picture of my youngest son and Logan when they were in Hawaii with the band 4 years ago last month. And all I can say is I love this place.
Well, let me put my little 2 cents in here. I'm a class of '81. I went to Immaculata High School, and all my boyfriends came from here. we were like the sister school here, so.
Right, we didn't need anybody else. These 2 are sufficient. But no, I mean, the part of the point of, having parents that have had sons that have gone through U of B, that are still going through U of B, to talk to our freshman parents, any words of wisdom that you would have for them as far as establishing boundaries, establishing expectations for their young men to succeed, not just at U of B, but beyond U of B as well?
For my family, my husband and I, we are really big in being a Jesuit. My son, when he says, when he's asked what school do you go to, he always says University of Detroit Jesuit High School. And we take the motto, being a man for others, for the greater glory of God, very seriously. There are times when I'm asking him, are you being a man for others with this assignment here for the greater glory of God? So that's something that principle was really important for us. And I think that has kind of helped Austin to kind of mature as he's gone through the academy, and then the high school. Another thing is that I think some of the boys were talking about boundaries and making sure that they don't procrastinate and things like that. For us, for me at least, I come from a family of women, mostly girls, and I'm an only child. As a matter of fact, when I was going to have us and the ultrasound said it was a boy, I told them to look a little more because I wasn't really planning on doing that. So for me, I wasn't used to being around. But I love boys. They're so wonderful. But I wasn't around a lot of boys because we have a lot of women in our family. And the one thing that I have to say, especially to the moms, join the mom club. It is so important because I learned so much about boys and my son. And I'll give you a really good example. And I tell this all the time. My son in the 10th grade, he's really smart. I mean, he's very bright. He's done very well here at University of Detroit Jesuit. In the 10th grade, he lost his lunchbox 3 times in 1 month. And I couldn't understand it because he doesn't like to buy lunches. He always likes to have a lunch. And so I was telling a parent, I was talking to her, I said, Austin's in the 10th grade, he lost his lunchbox. And I still to this day don't know where this one lunchbox is. And the mom said, lunchbox? Oh my God, we stopped doing lunchboxes. Why did he take a paper bag for a lunchbox? And he has an attitude when he has to take, like a Kroger bag or something out of paper bags. Then another mother says, oh, wait a minute. My son's a 9th grader and he's 6'2". He came home with 1 shoe. So for me, I laugh like you did, but it made me understand, these are boys. Boys are a little different. So for the moms, I just want you to, I want to tell you, it's wonderful talking to other moms. You'll find that what you're experiencing is what they are, or maybe even differently, but in the same boat. But I don't know if I answered that question really well.
Basically, boys are stupid. And I always have to take notes, and I was just listening to the guys, and I think really, for me, the Men's for Others is definitely what brought me here, and my relationship with my classmates. We don't even see each other that often, but when we do, it's just, it's like we haven't missed each other at all. But one of the things that the guy said that I think is really critically important for all of you, because all your young men are brilliant, but they're not all going to graduate with a 4.0. And so it's going to be you managing your own stress. And one of the things that is know what your son's best efforts are and support him. So for example, if your son is putting the time in, doing the extra with that particular teacher, and has a 3.0, don't freak out. And the reason I say that is because I'll never, and I hope I'm not disclosing anything, I'll never forget, but there was a student here a while ago, before my sons got here, Miss Chandler was here, and this kid struggled, but he was giving his best effort. He worked really hard. I think he graduated with just about a 2.5, but he got into one of our Jesuit universities, and he graduated with honors.
Wow.
And so sometimes you have to just, if he's doing the work, stay the course. Let's just say trust the process, because so much of this too is life is about relationships. And I promise you, there'll be very few places where he'll have the stronger relationships than he'll have coming out of this place. When I got married, I like to tease my wife about this. All my groomsmen were guys from the high, and I still talk to all my groomsmen. She doesn't speak to all her bridesmaids.
Just elaborate on that point for the two of you. I mean, how do you respond when your son comes home feeling, stressed out, or when he encounters that adversity? What do you do as a parent when your first inclination is probably to kind of clean up that boo-boo, or to help him up, or to right that wrong form? How do you resist that impulse?
I think it was easier for me because I was an alum. I did a lot of my growing up here. And I think it was harder for my wife to not try to come and fix things. This is the safest place to fail. And that was my approach. I said, all right, well, and I don't think he would mind me telling you, he struggled with Mr. Gumbel. And Mr. Gumbel was my dean of students here. Absolutely struggled. And then his junior year, had to take him again. And he was just, and I said, you got to go see him. Mr. Gumbel ended up writing his letter of recommendation for college. So I think part of this is giving your young men an opportunity to manage the challenges that are in front of him. Man to teacher, face to face. That's part of the process. It's just not checking the box on did he get all A's. And then the other thing too is in my house, the one rule was I never want to see a poor grade because you didn't turn an assignment.
Yeah.
To me, that's just stupid. That's really stupid. So once they understood that, I'm going to monitor your time, but if you have a poor grade because you didn't turn something in, then you're going to see me. You're not going to see your mom.
I tend to be more like your wife. I'm a little bit of a helicopter mom, so it's hard for me when I see that Austin may need to fail a little bit because I don't want to see that. But you're right, this is the best place for them to do that because there is a lot of support here. I'll give you a good example. To this day, I'm having heart attacks, but my son thinks nothing of it. Austin has been on first honor since he got here in the 7th grade. And he was invited, like all the boys, to apply for a National Honor Society. And he decided he didn't want to do that. And I got really busy. And next minute I know, the application process was over. And to this day, I'm hurt. And my son is going on with life, okay? He decided to do something else instead. But I told him, I said, now, and he looks and he sees all his friends now are ushers or whatever the National Honor Society guys do. And I said, Austin, don't you? I saw Eddie, I saw so-and-so. I was like, And so he's okay with it. So that in of itself is a great sign about the school because he's okay in being who he is. He decided he did not want to do that. He's doing something, he's in a ton of things, but that wasn't important to him. And he had a legitimate reason why he didn't want to do it. He explained it to me and it sounded great. I'm the one that can't get over it. But I agree with, what everything that he said. This is a great place. And I will say this much, being a helicopter mom, last year my son took a CAD class and he got a progress report. The first time ever in his life I saw a big fat D for weak. And I almost had a fit. I wrote to the teacher and I CC'd Mr. Chandler and I CC'd Mr. Teasdale from the academy. And my husband and I came up here and the teacher, Mr. Wilson, was wonderful. I think, he basically, come to find out, that Austin obviously wasn't catching on because he was taking him too long to get the assignments in. It was more like a wake-up call, but it was also a wake-up call for Mr. Wilson because he saw that, no, this is a really serious student, speaking with both parents, coming up here and all that. And I have to say,
I would say the other thing too that's really important is, in this violent, especially if you even have multiple kids, just don't compare your son to the other students here. I don't think we did that because we have 5 kids and we certainly only try to compare kids to one another. And so that's just not healthy. There's enough competition going on at the school that they don't need to get that from you when they come home and comparing them to, because you never know the whole story about what's going on in the other house anyway, right? So I would just say I would try not to do that.
Any questions or veteran or UTJ parents? We got time for 1 or maybe 2.
How do you respond if they get a poor grade and then they justify it because you should have seen how the other kids did?
Other kids don't live with me. But really, it goes back to, and that's the great thing about the teachers here. So, Mom's club, dad's club. I'll also say this is a great place for some of you to meet some great new friends too. To be honest, especially if some of you are already 6 year on your path to becoming 6 year parents, but if not, you're going to meet some really wonderful people. I always like to say UV Jesuit is the best place to send your son, not because of just the great academics, but because of the families that come here, because everyone here is passing great options. Everyone here is passing great options to send their son right here to 8400 West Cambridge, right? So there's something about all of us that connects us anyway. And so it's just a matter of time of just spending some time and talking to someone that you haven't met before to find out what else you have in common other than just dropping your son off here. And so it's great for the parents to get involved. You're gonna make some great friends as well. And that will also help you as you learn some tips on just how to navigate this place on behalf of your son.
I'm going to say something along the lines of the young guy that was a junior in the first seat. And one of the things that I always tell Austin, you know, if I knew you were a C student or what have you, and I knew you were working hard, then that's fine, if that's the best that you can do. But you are a student, and I don't expect this kind of grade from you, because I know you can do better, and you should want to do better. So let's see what let's put together a plan to see what you need to do to get this grade up, because I know that you can do better than this. And then I ask him, what do you think you need to do? And then he'll come up with a plan, and we'll work with the plan. But I think the biggest thing is letting them know, you are an above average student, or you are a B student, or whatever, and I expect that much from you. And even if you get a bad grade, at least if I know you're putting that effort towards it, then I'm fine by that. It's not a problem, as long as I know that you're putting the effort. I don't think you were doing, putting all the effort in this. And that's how we really handled it in our household.
Last question.
This is actually not about academics, which is great here, but one of the best things about UP is the United by Diversity. And that, so the boys, there are boys coming from homeschool, there are boys coming from very small schools, from large schools, and it's kind of a culture shock. So how do you encourage your son to get the most socially, not just academically, but out of everything that's offered?
If your son gets involved, it's going to happen naturally. And I can tell you, if you live in Holly, your son's best friends are going to live in Grosse Pointe.
Yeah.
If you live in Novi, your son's best friends are going to be in Bloomfield Hills, and vice versa. That's just, we live in Grosse Pointe, and although my son went to school with some of the guys from Grosse Pointe, I was driving to Novi, Bloomfield Hills, Farmington Hills every other weekend so he could hang out with his friends. And they come from all over. And I think in his graduating class, there are one or two students who were Muslim, who were really good friends of his. I mean, this place is just, to your point, it's incredible. It's just a matter of engagement, because his friends are going to be the guys that he's in clubs with.
That's true.
Those are going to be his friends, and all the clubs are incredibly diverse and enriching.
I agree with that too. My son, he isn't as gregarious as I am, but I found that his friends are based on the things that he participates in. So like he's in the play again this year, so he has friends that are part of the play. And we live in the Walled Lake Novi area, and I do the same thing that you're saying. No one lives out by us, so we're always going out, further. But he really, the way you participate in the after-school programs is very important, because it is more than just academics. And especially for you moms, and dads for college, now we're applying to college, it's very important that your boys have extracurricular activities, even in addition to sports, because all that's very important. And showing some consistency too, like Austin's been a part of a chess club since I think 8th grade, and schools want to see that consistency. They don't want to just see that it's senior year, and there's all of a sudden in 7 different organizations, but they want to see the consistency throughout.
Just want to thank you all. So really quick, our school president, Father Ted Munns, is here, and so he's going to close us out and then give us a prayer and send us on our way. So again, just welcome up Father Munns.
Very briefly, thank you all for being here tonight. Certainly thanks to the panels, those who arranged the evening. And let us just give thanks and praise to our God, assuring you that each day you and your sons are always in our prayers. So glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Go Cubs. Good night.